anger, that emotion that clouds our judgment and blinds us to reason. How can we free ourselves from this harmful emotion? Anger is a powerful emotion that, if not managed properly, can cloud our judgment and lead us to make impulsive decisions. The Stoics, with their practical and rational approach, teach us to recognize the thought patterns that trigger anger and to develop effective strategies to calm ourselves and respond more wisely. Everyday life is full of small and large frustrations that test our patience to the limit. From the most common inconveniences, such as a traffic jam or a dying phone battery, to more complex situations in the workplace or personal life. We constantly find ourselves dealing with events that can drive us crazy and disturb our peace of mind. Our lives are woven with a series of daily challenges, often small and seemingly insignificant. However, it is in the way we confront these small battles that our true character is revealed. Every response, every choice we make in the face of these irritations shapes our perspective and defines us as individuals. Today we are going to talk about a topic that affects us all: anger. How can we control this powerful emotion? And we will discover the only trick to erase anger from your life. The Stoics teach us that anger is an emotion that arises from unfulfilled expectations. By holding on to certain ideas about how things or people should be, we open ourselves up to frustration. They propose that anger was a choice, not an automatic reaction, and that by practicing certain techniques, we can learn to manage it more effectively. We will dive deep into the ancient wisdom of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us not only to survive these moments, but to thrive in them. Stoicism allows us to transmute the setbacks of everyday life into catalysts for our personal development and serenity of spirit. By adopting this philosophy, we learn to see obstacles as stepping stones to greater wisdom and inner strength. By the end of this video, you will not only have solved the mystery of why these principles have been the compass of so many geniuses throughout history, but you will also have in your hands the necessary tools to begin a journey towards a stronger and more satisfying life. Let's embark together on a profound transformation, guided by the principles of Stoicism, to apply these ideas in your daily life and transform your reality. We will discover how this ancient philosophy can help us free ourselves from the chains of negative emotions, cultivating resilience and wisdom that will allow us to face any challenge. Lesson 1. Recognize anger as something natural. Anger is an emotion as common as joy or sadness. It is a feeling inherent to the human condition that we all experience at some point. However, it is precisely in these moments that Stoic philosophy offers us invaluable guidance. Through his teachings, we can learn to understand and manage our anger in a more constructive way, transforming it into a force that drives us towards personal growth and greater serenity. The Stoic dichotomy, which divides the world into what we can control and what we cannot, is the basis of this teaching. The Stoics encourage us to focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, judgments, and actions. By applying this dichotomy to anger, we understand that we cannot control whether someone offends us or whether something goes wrong, but we can choose how to interpret these events and how to respond emotionally. This fundamental distinction allows us to free ourselves from frustration and resentment. When something goes wrong or someone frustrates us, our first instinct might be to react with anger. But what if we paused and considered this reaction instead? Stoicism encourages us to see these moments as opportunities to practice virtues such as patience, understanding, and resilience. By recognizing anger as a natural emotion, we set the stage for learning to manage it more effectively. Stoic philosophers such as Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius often discuss the concept of not being swayed by external events, but instead focusing on our internal responses. They believe that our emotions, including anger, come from our judgments about events, not from the events themselves. So when we feel angry, it is often because we are placing a particular value or judgment on what is happening. This understanding opens up a powerful opportunity for us. Every time we feel anger, we can ask ourselves, what judgment am I making about this situation? Is there another way to look at it? It's not about repressing or denying your anger. It's about understanding it by getting to the root of what triggers it. We can begin to change our responses. For example, If you get cut off in traffic and feel anger welling up, recognize this as an opportunity to examine why you are reacting this way. The other driver's action. Is that really the case, or do you think your route should be free of obstacles? Additionally, acknowledging anger helps us empathize with others who might also struggle with their emotions. This empathy can deepen our connections and improve our interactions. It is about compassion for both ourselves and others as we navigate the complexities of human emotions. Lesson 2. Focus on what you can control. Focusing on what is within our control is like choosing a path in the middle of a storm. We can influence our direction, but not the wind or the waves. By accepting what we cannot change and directing our energy toward what we can, we free ourselves from unnecessary frustration and anxiety. This idea is at the heart of Stoic philosophy and is incredibly liberating once you truly understand it. Think about it. Much of our anger, frustration arises from situations or people that we simply cannot change, no matter how much we want to. Life is like a game of cards. We receive a specific set of cards at birth, but we have the power to play them in the best way possible. Focusing on our actions, thoughts, and attitudes is like optimizing our strategy, maximizing our chances of success, and minimizing the impact of cards that do not favor us. Imagine your mind as a garden. You can choose which seeds to plant and grow. Negative thoughts and worries are weeds that can invade your mental garden. By focusing on what you can control, you are choosing to grow a garden of peace, gratitude, and resilience. Stoic philosophy teaches us that happiness does not depend on external circumstances, but on our response to them. By focusing on what is within our reach, we develop an inner strength that allows us to face any challenge with greater calm and determination. Stoics like the wise Marcus Aurelius taught that true power lies in recognizing the difference between what we can control and what we cannot. You can control your thoughts, your decisions, and your actions. That's all. Everything else is more or less out of your hands. The actions of other people, the weather of the past, and much of the future are not under your control. But this is where it becomes interesting to focus on our own reactions and attitudes. We regain a tremendous amount of power. Instead of wasting energy on the uncontrollable, we invest it in what we can actually influence. Let's make it practical. Let's say you're working on a group project and someone isn't doing their best. It's easy to get frustrated, true, you might even feel like your temper is rising. But ask yourself, what part of this situation can I really control? You can't make your teammate work harder, but you can control how you respond to the challenge. Maybe it's a conversation about expectations, or maybe it's reallocating work within the group. By shifting your focus in this way, you not only reduce your own stress, but you also open up more constructive ways of approaching the problem. Another aspect of this Stoic principle is accepting that some things are beyond our control. This acceptance does not mean resignation, it means understanding where our power really lies. It is about not allowing external events to dictate your peace of mind. For example, if you are stuck in traffic and you are irritated because you are going to be late, pause and think, can I control the traffic? Number, but what can I control? Your reaction. Maybe you put on an audiobook or some relaxing music, or use the time to think about your day. The beauty of focusing on what you can control is that it gradually builds a stronger, more resilient mindset. Over time, you'll find yourself less shaken by life's ups and downs because you know where your responsibilities lie and where they don't. It's not about repressing your feelings, but channeling your most productive energies. Lesson 3. Practice mindfulness. The practice of mindfulness involves cultivating a deep and vivid awareness of the present moment. It is as if we can tune into our internal and external experience, observing our thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations without judging them. This practice allows us to be more present in our lives, reducing the tendency to mentally wander into the past or future. Instead of automatically reacting to external stimuli, mindfulness invites us to respond more consciously and deliberately. This alignment is beautifully Stoic. It is a teaching that emphasizes awareness of our thoughts and actions and maintaining control over our reactions to external circumstances. So, why should we practice mindfulness? because it helps us pause between our experiences and our reactions. By becoming more aware, we can choose responses that align with our values and goals rather than being driven by emotions. This is particularly helpful when dealing with anger or frustration. For example, when someone says something that upsets you, instead of reacting immediately or responding sharply, mindfulness allows you to take a step back. You notice your emotional surge, but you choose to passively observe it without immediately taking action. This space that mindfulness creates is not only calming, but empowering. It gives you the opportunity to choose an answer that you won't regret later. Now let's talk about how to incorporate mindfulness into your daily life, because it sounds great in theory, but it's in practice where the real magic happens. A simple technique is to focus on your breathing. When you feel anxious or angry, take a moment to focus on slow, deep breaths. This approach takes your mind away from stress or anger triggers and brings you back to what you can control with your breathing. Another practical method is what we call mindful observation. Choose an ordinary task or moment, such as drinking a cup of coffee, and focus all your senses on this experience. Notice the aroma, the warmth of the cup in your hands. Try this practice of getting fully involved. The present moment can transform an ordinary experience into a richer, more textured moment. The fascinating thing about this is that it trains your brain to apply the same level of awareness to more challenging situations. So when anger or frustration arises, you'll be better equipped to deal with it. Stoicism also teaches us about the impermanence of our experiences. Nothing lasts forever, not even our emotions. Mindfulness complements this by helping us experience our feelings without judgment. Acknowledge that you are angry, but also remember that this anger is just a passing state. It is not who you are, and it does not control you unless you let it. Lesson 4. Accepting impermanence. Impermanence, that universal law that governs everything that exists, is a reality that we all face sooner or later. Understanding that change is constant allows us to cultivate acceptance, freeing us from the frustration that comes from clinging to what will inevitably fade away. By embracing the fluidity of life, we develop greater resilience, able to navigate the ups and downs with a more serene and adaptive attitude. Life is a river in constant motion. Our experiences, feelings, and perspectives are like flowing waters, continually transforming. Instead of clinging to a fixed shore, we must learn to navigate this flow, adapting to each new current. Resistance to change is like fighting the tide. Accepting the natural flow of existence allows us to find greater inner peace. Think about how often we get upset because things didn't go as planned. Maybe it was a promotion that didn't come through, a relationship that ended unexpectedly, or a sudden change in our health. Our first reaction might be to resist these changes by getting angry or sad. But Stoicism invites us to look at these situations differently, through the lens of impermanence. When we truly understand that nothing is permanent, we begin to realize that our anger or disappointment is also temporary. It doesn't diminish the importance of our feelings, but it gives us a more balanced perspective on them. Embracing impermanence allows us to live more in the present and worry less about the past and the future. If you know that everything is temporary, you begin to appreciate your experiences and the people around you more deeply. You don't take things for granted because you're aware that circumstances can change at any moment. This awareness can be incredibly liberating, reducing the pain of negative events and increasing the joy of positive ones. Now, how do we practice accepting impermanence in daily life? Start by reflecting on the transitory nature of your environment and experiences. For example, notice how the seasons change, how your feelings change throughout the day, or how your relationships evolve over time. Observations can be reminders that change is the only constant. Another way to integrate this into your life is by adjusting the way you respond to interruptions or unexpected changes. Instead of reacting with frustration when something doesn't go your way, take a moment. Recognizing that this change is part of a larger flow of life is an opportunity to adapt and grow. Thinking about a time when something didn't work out the way you expected, and then something better came along. We often only see in retrospect how these changes were beneficial. Stoicism not only asks us to accept impermanence, but encourages us to find strength in it. Every change is an opportunity to practice resilience and flexibility. Fostering this mindset not only allows us to deal with life's changes and challenges more effectively, but also to learn to overcome them with a sense of peace. Lesson 5. Understand your emotions. The Stoics held that by understanding the deeper roots of our emotions, we could develop greater control over them. By identifying the underlying thoughts and beliefs that trigger our emotional reactions, we would be better able to respond rationally rather than being carried away by irrational impulses. By examining the root causes of our emotions, we can cultivate a more objective and detached perspective. This allows us to respond to life's challenges with calm and equanimity, rather than being overwhelmed by our passions. Our emotions, whether it's consuming anger, overwhelming joy, crushing sadness, or paralyzing fear, are ultimately the result of how we interpret and make sense of the events around us. It is our mind, with its thoughts and beliefs, that generates these emotional responses. For example, if you feel angry when someone interrupts you while you're talking, it's worth exploring why you feel disrespected. This may reflect a deeper insecurity. By digging deeper into these questions, you can begin to understand not only your reactions, but also the beliefs and values that underlie them. This understanding is crucial because it gives you the opportunity to change your perceptions and, consequently, the way you feel. Stoicism teaches us that our emotions are based on our judgments. The good news is that judgments can be examined and changed. So when you feel a strong emotion, try to take a step back and ask yourself, what am I believing right now? Is this belief true? Is this helpful? These types of questions can be very powerful, allowing you to shift your perspective and choose a different emotional response, one that serves you better. For example, if you feel anxious about a work presentation, it may be because you believe you must perform perfectly to be respected. But is this really true? Your colleagues are likely to value your effort and sincerity more than perfection. Recognizing this can alleviate some of your anxiety and help you approach the situation with more calm, confidence, and ease. Practically speaking, journaling can be an incredibly effective tool for understanding your emotions. By writing down what you feel and exploring why you feel it, you can uncover patterns and triggers that you may not be aware of. Otherwise, this reflection not only helps in the moment, but also develops a kind of emotional intelligence that over time can make you more resilient and adaptable. Another approach is to talk about your feelings with someone you trust, a friend, family member, or mentor, who can provide you with new insights and perspectives you may not have considered. It is often through dialogue that we come to new understandings about ourselves and our relationships. Taking the Stoic approach to emotions is not about suppressing what you feel, but rather engaging with your emotions in a proactive and thoughtful way. It's about taking control of the narrative of your inner life. By understanding your emotions, you're not just reacting to the world, you're actively shaping your experience. Lesson 6. Developing patience. Stoicism invites us to see patience not as a simple wait, but as a path to self-knowledge and transformation. By cultivating patience, we learn to observe our emotional reactions and respond more wisely, rather than reacting impulsively. This process allows us to develop greater mental and emotional strength. Patience, according to Stoic philosophy, goes beyond mere waiting. It involves cultivating a serene and receptive attitude during periods of uncertainty or adversity. The Stoics invite us to reflect on how we respond to delays and obstacles, looking for opportunities for growth and learning in every situation. It is about maintaining composure and dignity in the face of life's delays and challenges, understanding that these are often beyond our control. In the hustle and bustle of everyday life, we are constantly exposed to situations that test our patience. From endless lines at the grocery store to unexpected traffic delays, there are countless times when we can feel frustrated and impatient. This is where Stoicism comes in and encourages us to see these moments as opportunities to practice virtue. Every instance of delay is an opportunity to exercise patience, to strengthen our ability to remain calm and serene. So how can we develop patience in practical terms? Often, our impatience arises from a mismatch between our expectations and reality. If we begin by recognizing that delays and obstacles are natural parts of life, we are less likely to be upset when they occur. This doesn't mean lowering our standards, but rather aligning them with our expectations. Accept that the world will not always work according to our preferences. Another key method is to use moments of waiting as opportunities to grow and reflect. Instead of letting the frustration of a traffic jam consume you, you can use that unexpected time to enrich your life. Listening to an audiobook, doing breathing exercises, or simply reflecting on your day can turn a stressful moment into an opportunity for personal growth and peace of mind. This shift in perspective turns a frustrating situation into a productive or relaxing one. Practicing mindfulness is also a powerful ally in developing patience. By being present in the moment and fully engaging with it, we can distance ourselves from the feelings of urgency and restlessness that often accompany waiting. Mindfulness helps us cultivate a peaceful state of mind that protects us from the impulses of impatience. Stoicism not only advocates patience but also understanding the impermanence of our current state. Remembering that this too shall pass can help us endure unpleasant situations, whether it's waiting for a delayed flight or enduring a long trip or recovering from an illness. Finally, celebrating small victories is crucial to developing patience. When you manage to remain calm during a situation that would normally make you impatient, acknowledging and rewarding yourself for these accomplishments reinforces the behavior and makes it more likely to become a habit. Lesson 7. Practicing forgiveness. Practicing forgiveness is like cultivating an indoor garden. It not only beautifies our relationships with others, but also nourishes our emotional well-being, allowing deep and lasting peace to flourish. Forgiveness is not only an act of generosity towards others, but also an investment in our own mental health. By releasing resentment and anger, we open the door to greater serenity and psychological well-being. Stoics do not conceive of forgiveness as a pardon for negative actions or an erasure of memory. For them, forgiveness means freeing ourselves from the emotional chains that bind us to the past. It means letting go of resentment and anger, which only serve to poison our present. According to the Stoics, forgiveness is an exercise of reason. It is not about denying the reality of the harm suffered, but about recognizing that holding on to negativity only harms ourselves. By forgiving, we choose inner peace over prolonged suffering. Forgiveness requires a strong sense of self-awareness and control over emotions. Stoic qualities that involve recognizing that our anger and pain are under our control. This does not mean that the process is simple or that forgiveness can be achieved immediately. Challenging it often requires a deliberate and concerted effort to let go of deeply held feelings of injustice. Consider the power that comes from deciding not to allow another person's actions to disturb your inner peace. This is the essence of Stoic forgiveness. It is about making a conscious decision not to allow past actions to continually affect your mental state. This decision helps you recover your emotional energy and focus it on more constructive activities that align with your values and goals. How to start practicing forgiveness in everyday life. It begins with the recognition that all humans are fallible, including ourselves. We all make mistakes, sometimes out of ignorance, sometimes out of malice. Reflecting on our own shortcomings can help us develop empathy towards others, making it easier to forgive. Another Stoic practice is to consider the bigger picture. Often the things we hold on to aren't that important in the grand scheme of our lives. By focusing on our long-term well-being, bolstered by peace and harmony, the immediate sting of grievances can be mitigated. Practicing forgiveness also involves actively reframing our narratives rather than seeing ourselves as a victim, which can perpetuate feelings of anger and helplessness. Try to see yourself as a survivor, or even the hero of your story, someone who has overcome challenges and emerged stronger. This shift in perspective not only makes forgiveness easier, but it also empowers you on your life journey. Additionally, engaging in meditation or mindfulness exercises can help calm your mind and provide the space needed to process emotions more rationally and less reactively. As you sit quietly and focus on your breathing, allow thoughts of forgiveness to enter your mind by imagining those you feel have harmed you. Imagine sending them thoughts of goodwill. This doesn't mean you're accepting evil, but rather you're finally choosing to release its hold on you. It is important to understand that forgiveness is a process that is sometimes long. It does not happen all at once. We need to assimilate it, mature it, and that is perfectly fine. The practice of forgiveness teaches us to let go of control and accept what is beyond our control. In doing so, we experience a sense of freedom and empowerment that is reflected in all areas of our lives. Lesson 8. Practice self-control. Self-control is, in essence, the ability to pause for a moment before acting, allowing us to reflect on our motivations and consciously choose the most appropriate response. In this way, we can ensure that our actions are aligned with our values and long-term goals. For example, when trying to adopt healthier eating habits, self-control is what allows you to make the conscious decision to say no to late-night fast food, prioritizing your long-term goals over instant gratification. In emotional situations, self-control helps you hold back a harsh word or anger and give a response that preserves relationships and keeps things calm. How can we strengthen this essential skill? An effective Stoic practice is to regularly reflect on our actions and their consequences. This could be as simple as taking a few minutes each evening to think about decisions you made throughout the day. If there were times when you lacked self-control, analyzing and understanding the patterns that triggered them is the first step to managing them. Another powerful technique is to establish personal rules of behavior based on your values. Stoicism teaches us that living according to rational principles is key to a good life. By setting and following your own rules, for example, not checking your phone during meals or limiting the time you spend on social media, you exercise self-control. Visualization is another tool that can be incredibly helpful before you enter a situation where you know you might be tempted to act impulsively. Take a moment to visualize yourself handling the situation with calm and restraint. Imagine the satisfaction you will feel when you act in accordance with your principles. This mental rehearsal can make it much easier to stay calm in the heat of the moment. It's also beneficial to gradually build up your tolerance for discomfort, which is a big part of what self-control is all about. The Stoics believed that by voluntarily exposing ourselves to discomfort, whether it be cold showers, fasting, or resisting impulses, we can strengthen our will. These practices teach us that we can tolerate discomfort and that it is often not as bad as we fear. This understanding directly feeds into our ability to exercise self-control in more complex emotional or social situations. Finally, remember that practicing self-control is a journey, not a destination. There will be times when you fail. That's just part of being human. What matters is that you acknowledge these moments, learn from them, and continue to strive to improve. Every act of self-control, no matter how small, is a victory in itself and a step towards becoming a wiser and more balanced person. Remember that every step towards mastering your emotions is a step towards a more peaceful life. Anger is like a wave crashing against the rocks. We can try to fight it, but it is wiser to learn to surf it. By accepting what is beyond our control and focusing on what we can change, we can find inner peace even in the midst of the storm. In the end, anger is a choice. The Stoics teach us that we can choose how we react to circumstances. By cultivating virtue and reason, we can transform anger into a positive force that drives us to grow and improve. Anger can be an obstacle on our path to happiness. By applying Stoic principles, we can free ourselves from its yoke and live a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Are you ready to begin this journey? Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed our video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us your valuable comments that can be helpful to our community. I look forward to seeing you on our next journey of growth. Let us continue together along the path of eternal Stoic wisdom.